What's up, guys? First and foremost, it's booking season. If you're looking to have myself out to your property, take a look at the property, come up with a plan for the property moving forward as far as food plotting, tree stands, trail cameras, timber stand improvement. It's time to get that stuff on the books, assuming we still have some openings. You got to reach out to me at whitetaillandmanagement@gmail.com. Hopefully we still got an opening for you, and if we do, we'll get you on the books. Let's get into the video. How to drive deer, and how to drive deer successfully. Now, I know this is a debatable topic, and I know a lot of people are probably just mad even clicking this video, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is a good tactic in certain situations. I can think of a lot of bucks where a lot of times a trail camera goes off, or I just flat out know based off of past history that a buck is in a given certain area, or a given area, or a certain area, and I can't go in there and still hunt him. Or not even still hunting, but I can't go in there and sit in a stand and kill him, because he is where he is because he's bulletproof, damn near. He's bedding in a topographical location where he's got eyes on something, or the wind is always in his freaking favor and you can't do something about it because he's in that corner of your property and you can't, whatever the case is. This is a time in which, I don't care if you got 15 guys in your group or 2 guys in your group, there is a right and wrong way to go about this process. So let's talk about the old traditional way. This is something that's done heavily in Iowa, I believe, to a certain extent. Wisconsin, the Michigans, the northern Michigans, and maybe some other places, PA, the more traditional areas, and maybe a deer camp thing. But how to appropriately, I guess we'll say, and safely as possible. Safety is key here, guys, and I know I don't have to preach that, like we're all adults here, but to appropriately drive deer. So at the end of the day, guys, you're going to have your posters at the end of the drive, and those guys are going to be like your sitters, and those are the guys that we're going to be pushing the deer to. In this given scenario, I'm not too worried about wind direction. Hint, hint, where we're going in this video. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to get almost once I have, let's call it 3 posters on the backside, I'm going to have at least 3, if not 4 or 5 pushers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a flanker up top, and I'm going to have a couple guys that are kind of staggered back. And ultimately, guys, what we have there is a surrounded deer, especially if we know he's in a core bedding area. And here's the other thing that's really important as far as that design goes, is a lot of times these mature bucks, I mean, they're so smart. And I know a lot of you guys can probably relate to this, and please tell the story in the comments if you can. How many times have you been on a drive or been walking in the woods and you can't believe how close you got to this deer, and all of a sudden he skirts out back behind you? You came from that way, but he skirts back behind you. Given that design in which we're walking in, at least those guys behind us will get a crack. Now, obviously, if you're that guy, don't be shooting at your buddy. It's common sense, I know, but you got to say it. But walking in that direction, if that deer doesn't get up 50 to 100 yards ahead of you, and all of a sudden he realizes it's too late, and all of a sudden he sees you, he's going to hunker down and he's going to kick out the back door. Well, now we have somebody on the back door. So as far as driving goes, pretty simple process, guys. I'm not too worried about wind direction when I got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys. But I make sure that we're not just walking in a flat line, because at the end of the day, if we got a V or a U going, that given scenario that I just explained to you works. But also, if they run up ahead of you, the flankers end up getting a crack at these deer anyway. Now, let's face it, a lot of these states, gun season isn't nearly as rich of a tradition, and we don't have as many buddies to go with. Hell, maybe you're the only guy, or it really doesn't work in that case, because we should be still hunting, but keep the wind in your favor at that point and put the wind in your face. But if you got 2 buddies, one thing that I like to do with these stubborn bucks that we cannot get killed, that you've had on camera for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and you can't get after them, guys, is I'm going to wind drive them or wind bump them. There's one thing you need to realize, guys, whether we're in hill country and these bucks bed on leeward ridges, or a topographical feature in which they have wind coming over their back or whatever, because that happens in pressured areas. These deer do bed strategically doing that, where the wind comes over their back and they're looking out in front of them, smell everything behind them, see everything in front of them. Or we're in the swamp land of eastern Wisconsin, where everything's flat and there is no topography, and that buck has a nest almost that he's leaning up against, so that predator can't come from behind him, wind coming over his back, overlooking the swamp. Whatever the scenario is, guys, there's a way we can get in there and kill this buck. And it's through wind driving or wind bumping, guys. So what is wind driving or wind bumping, guys? It's where we purposefully put our wind at that deer's direction, or where we think that deer is spending time. This is the one time in which that is 100% okay to do. And the nice thing is if we have 1 or 2 guys on the opposite opposite side of this given bedding area upwind, and we understand what this deer might do because we have trail cameras and all these other things, and we know some of his exit routes out of these bedding areas. We know where to put this guy, but at the end of the day, guys, we're just going to set up with our wind blowing into these areas, and we're going to walk slowly, still hunt, because at the end of the day, like a day like today, we have a lot of wind, and just because you put that wind in his direction doesn't necessarily mean it's beelining straight for him. It might be swooping around, it might not get to him. You might be able to just sneak up and shoot him right out of his bed, but if you didn't and your wind did bump him, which is what we're intended to do here, he's gonna sneak out the back door. And notice I just said sneak out the back door. He's not gonna be full blown running his butt off like you would if you were doing a typical drive, which is gonna give the guy or two guys or three guys a good opportunity to end up shooting this deer coming out of the bedding area. He's probably gonna end up trying to do a big loop and sneak back because that's just what deer tend to do. But at the end of the day, if we wind bump him, gradually bump him instead of hard bump him like we would on a normal drive, he's probably more likely to sneak out. He's gonna get up and he's gonna move off but not run off, which is ultimately gonna give those guys on the back side of the bedding with the wind in their favor a good shot at this buck. So at the end of the day, guys, whether you're the guy with 20 guys in your group or you're the guy with 3 guys in your group, it's not a bad idea to go in and drive deer. It's just about how you do it, especially when it comes to hunting these stubborn bucks. And I know you got one that you've had on camera for 2, 3, 4 years. It's time to end the sitting tactics at this point. It's late season, later season, second week of gun season. It's time to go in while you still have that boomstick in your hands, the great equalizer, and go kill this deer. Go in after him. Put the wind in his favor, let him think that he's going to get out of there scotch-free, and let him get shot on the back end. If you're wind bumping him, or go in there and basically surround them as safely as possible through your typical old-fashioned deer drives, guys. At the end of the day, it's a tactic you need to keep in your arsenal when it comes to hunting big, mature bucks.